What?
The Facebook Live, there's like noise happening.
הריני מקבל, מקבל עליי מצוות עשה של ואהבת לרעך כמוך, כמוך. הריני מקבל, מקבל עליי מצוות עשה של ואהבת לרעך כמוך, כמוך. חברים כל ישראל, חברים כל ישראל, חברים כל ישראל, הריני מקבל עליי. חברים כל ישראל, חברים כל ישראל, חברים כל ישראל, הריני מקבל עליי.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining this shiur in commemoration of Ahava's first yahrzeit. Before I hand it over to Rav Shlomo Katz, I'd just like to speak for a few minutes. I'm sure I'm not alone in saying that it's really hard to believe it's been a year since Ahava left this world, yet so much has happened since she left. Between the coronavirus and the racial turmoil that's going on with Black Lives Matter and the resurgence in overt anti-Semitism, it is in many ways a very, very different world to the one she departed from. I'd like to think she's up there now with Hashem pleading on behalf of humanity, and you'd be hard-pressed to find a better advocate. One can imagine how she would have reacted to the turmoil and the way that the world is right now if she was still here, and I do all the time. I'm certain she would have done what she always did when faced with adversity. Try to find and appreciate the positive in the situation and ask herself, what is God trying to tell me? Or what is he trying to tell us collectively? So no doubt she would have taken advantage to spend even more time with the kids. She would have planned fun activities, mostly at home, mind you, days just really structured and organized. She would have encouraged us to be better people and have faith in the Almighty. She would have focused less on her own inconvenience and more on that of everyone else. And she would have been adamant about wearing face masks to prevent others from getting sick, especially the immunocompromised. She would have doubled down on helping others in need. There's no question in my mind about it. In terms of the racism and the racial turmoil going on, she would have also been very outspoken about this. She would have spoken out against systemic racism. But at the same time, she would not have been silent in the face of the anti-Semitism that we're seeing now. And in some cases, this anti-Semitism is coming from people who are promoting or part of the Black Lives Matter organization. For Ahava, the right thing to do was clear, and she did not hesitate in doing it. I want to take a leaf out of Ahava's book and try to see the positive in the situation we all find ourselves in now with the COVID. And one such positive is the proliferation of online shiurim on Zoom and other platforms. Now, in normal circumstances, I would have held tonight's shiur in the shul hall in Beit Shemesh, maybe 100 people, capacity for 100 people or so. So we really would have only had maybe 100 people who live close to Beit Shemesh, at least people in Israel. But actually, because of this situation, it opened my mind up to the possibility to do this online. So now we'll have hundreds, probably thousands of people all around the world who can join in honoring Ahava and learning from the wisdom of Rav Shlomo Katz. Rav Shlomo is not just an amazingly inspirational speaker, but he's also a very dear friend of ours. He's a very close friend of Ahava's. And he's the one person I'm sure Ahava would want to be delivering this shiur in her honor. So on that note, Rav Shlomo Katz, I will now pass it over to you.
Wow, I'm usually not intimidated by beginnings. I'm usually very smooth when it comes to intros or outros, and I didn't realize how much it would hit me until you started talking, David. So I'm not going to pretend that I'm going to have a smooth intro here. I'm just going to sing a song. We'll sing one nigun together, and we'll take it from there. I actually just got off the phone right now with friends that have a beautiful song that I know Ahava loved, and I love too, and it's a song we sang together one of the last times that we were together. It's one of their songs of the band Zusha. Ani ma'amin be'emunah, emunah shelema. Ani ma'amin be'emunah, emunah shelema. Bevi'as HaMashiach, ani ma'amin, oy ani ma'amin. Bevi'as HaMashiach, ani ma'amin, oy ani ma'amin, ani ma'amin. Be'emunah, emunah shelema. Ani ma'amin be'emunah, emunah shelema. Bevi'as HaMashiach, ani ma'amin, ani ma'amin. Bevi'as HaMashiach, ani ma'amin, ani ma'amin. So it's my great honor, mamash, a great honor. Usually people open up like that. They say it's such an honor to be here. They don't even know where they are. I don't think I've ever said it with more kavana when I say it's a tremendous, humbling honor to be with the family on this very holy night, because the night of a Yortzeit is the night when in Shamayim we commemorate the night, the day that in heavens they welcome back the neshama that did its job in this world. And it's clear to all of us that last year on this day, on Zayin Av, when Ahava Emunah's neshama was welcomed back to Shamayim, Moshe Rabbeinu, Aaron HaKohen, Miriam HaNeviah, Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, the Arizal, the 6 million, all the greats that ever died al Kiddush Hashem, must have been standing there in rows, clapping their hands, saying, Ashrei ha'am shekachalo, praiseworthy is such a nation that had someone like you in their midst to get a little bit of a deeper taste of what life is all about. So when we commemorate a Yortzeit, it's a commemoration not just of what left here, but also what was being re-received and re-welcomed back up in Shamayim. And that's that gate that reopened a year ago is the gate that opens again on every year on the Yortzeit. And as I was preparing, I realized I can't prepare for an evening like this. There's very little to feel like you could actually prepare. And I've also been Zooming my brains out, so I also know attention spans regarding Zoom is not so pashut either. But like David said, the truth is we will have the opportunity that on Zoom here there's 44, but on the other networks these things tend to get to many more people. And if there's any light that any of us can say the world for sure needs, it's her light. Because there are certain neshamot that are beyond and above the world of machloket, the world of division. Rav Kook, for instance, he was a great example of going above the world of machloket. You don't get stuck in what we call in Yiddish, as if I'm a native Yiddish speaker, right? A kleine cup, which means rosh katan, small mind. Ahava Emunah was rosh gadol, massively big head, massively looking at things much bigger than what they were. And that's why David, when you opened up and saying that you frequently think about how she would respond to this insanity, to the craziness that we're in. Many times I've gone back to my text messages, to my conversations that I had with her. I go back to the conversations I had with her and with you together, three of us. I go back to conversations we had that weren't captured, but obviously the stuff today with text, all that was captured, and I made sure to never delete any of them. And I went back to a number of conversations that I felt for me were the only pillar of sanity in a very, very upside down Meshuggah world that we're in right now. And when I thought more and more about what I wanted to talk about tonight, so I want to have an open conversation with her together with all of you, because we're in such desperate need, not just to commemorate. It's not about commemorating only, because she is chai v'kayam lanetzach. But it's literally realizing the following thing and remembering the following thing. Yeah, she was human. I'm sure she had all her faults, like all holy and cool and simple people. But she became a Rebbe. She became larger than life. She became on levels that I believe one day, I pray this to be true, that her blog will be something that is studied, that is inserted into curriculums, because our children need to learn about love and need to learn about faith with her ta'am and ruach, with her taste and with her spirit. That's my dream for my children. I really, really want them to have that. It's my dream for all our children, that they have this concept of her name, love and faith. So you know that the term Emunah, we'll talk about both names, and in Be'ezrat Hashem, drawing down direction and guidance from her. We're going to talk about both names. We'll start with the second name, Emunah. In Hebrew, the word Emunah, faith, the misconception is that faith is a noun. But nothing can be further from the truth. Faith is not a noun, it's a verb. Ani ma'amin. Ma'amin means I'm faithing. I'm in a process. I'm in the midst of doing something. It's something po'el, it's something that's happening. It's something alive. And many people who would claim that they are believers, when you're with them, there's not so much moving within them. Like my dear friend Rabbi Judah Michel once said, that the first siman that you join the movement is that it stopped moving. All movements, right? They're supposed to keep on moving. But they stop moving because they're just about agendas and this and that. Then sometimes you could be in the presence of people who are actively moving. They are ma'amin. They're faithing it as a verb, not as a noun. When I spent time with her, every conversation with her was truly witnessing someone that was in a verb state of the terminology of emunah. It had nothing to do with yesterday. It had nothing to do with the second before. It had to do with, how is this playing a role in my life? This second. And when you witness that, that's a gift that you're thankful for the rest of your life. That's true gadlut. That's what it's all about. That's mamish what it's all about. So I always felt that lesson of faith being a verb and not a noun was something that she left for us. She left for us a very, very, very big legacy. It could be a very intimidating legacy because it pushes you to get it together. It pushes you to truly, truly be as real, as raw, as authentic as you can be. And I just want to say something before we continue. David, that's a midah that I learned from you all the time, even if I don't comment on every video or every post. That's something that I feel that you carry with such dignity and such a beautiful awareness. And I just want to give you koach and send you a bracha to continue going in that way, because that's such a beautiful, wonderful thing that all of us need. So we learned, there's a sefer that the women here in Efrat, we learned for 2 years. It took us 2 years to finish. It's a pretty small sefer. It's a wonderful sefer. Actually, Ahava's sister-in-law, I know Brianna, likes this sefer. And that is, let me see if I could see you guys. Yeah, I see you guys. And that is the sefer called Bilvavi Mishkan Evneh, which means in my heart I will build a mishkan, a dwelling place. It's a wonderful sefer. It's written by a rabbi named Rabbi Itamar Schwartz, and he has many books. One of his other books, I'm looking at it for it here because I always want it close to me, it's called, I don't see it right now. It's called Shni Tolat. Thank you, Dina. Yeah, it's called Shni Tolat. And this sefer has a very clear, he says something very awesome in here. And I didn't want to do too much text tonight, but this was something I wanted to bring up about the word emunah and about something that I feel I can hear her saying to us. We all wonder, after what happened last year, does Hashem ever not listen to tefillahs? Let's be as authentically raw and honest, right? Like we can be right now. Does God ever not listen? Is there ever a situation where it seems like pashut lo makshivim li, I'm not being heard? So we all know that God always, always answers. There's always an answer. Every prayer, every request gets an answer. But the thing is that it's not always the answer that we want. And we know this already. Just 3 weeks ago, the father of Nachshon Waxman, the Chayal that was kidnapped back in the 90s, his father, Yehuda Waxman, died after a long illness. And back in the day when his son was kidnapped, I remember that his mother, that Shabbos that he was in captivity, he was killed on a Friday night. Well, the army was trying to get him out. And I remember that his mother, Esther Waxman, asked all of Am Yisrael to light an extra candle. I don't know how many of you were around back then in Israel, or if you remember this on the news. Esther Waxman asked each person to light an extra candle in honor of her son Nachshon. And you know what happened? It was so interesting. It's painfully interesting. What happened was, we all know that unfortunately, he wasn't saved. So the media immediately charged her during Shiva, and they said to her, "No, so what do you have to say about your God? How do you deal with the God that doesn't answer you?" Right? They were trying to stir the pot. How do you deal with the God that doesn't answer you? She said something so brilliant. She said, "What do you mean? God always answers. It's just that sometimes the answer is no." And part of our emunah is understanding that a relationship with God means that sometimes the answer is no to what we're asking for, besides one thing. And I want you all to open your hearts, please, l'chvod Ahava Emunah, l'chvod yourselves, in honor of yourselves, and please open deep, deep, deep inside and hear this. There's only one thing, according to our sages, which in the book that I just mentioned is brought down. There's only one thing that God never answers no to. And that is for the Lakers to win. No, I'm kidding, not the Lakers. I just wanted to ease the tension for a second. The one thing that the Ribono Shel Olam never, ever, ever says no to, the one request that God never says no to, is when you ask God to have more emunah. God never says, "No, I don't think that's good for you." You see, God could say no to a lot of my requests because things that I think I want that are good for me, sometimes they really are not good for me. Oh, I want to marry that person. God says, no, you really don't, right? Trust me. Or God says, or you say, "Oh, I really, really want this to happen." And God's saying, no, trust me, you really don't. You actually really don't. But the only thing in the world, the only thing in the world that a man asks of God, that the answer is never, ever a no, is, "God, I want to believe in you more. I want to have more faith." That's the one thing that never, ever, ever gets denied, ever. So tonight's a night in honor of her that I think that it's, usually, especially people that maybe grew up religious with a very bad taste in their mouth, they don't want to ask for more faith. They're like, you stay there and I stay here. But faith is so much bigger than just like being a good Jew, whatever that means. Faith is so much bigger. Faith means believing in the world. And you know what? It's very hard to believe in the world today. Very hard. And that's why her message and her light and her legacy is one that I feel is so, so needed, to believe in people, to believe in the world, to believe in God's world. That's what we're doing when we're asking for more faith. It's not just, I want to have more faith and just keep on getting punched and holding on even if I can't believe in anybody else. It's not that. It's believing in the world that God created, believing that tomorrow will be more beautiful. When you ask God to have more belief in his world and belief in the dreams that he has for you and I, that is a request that's never, never denied. And that's a beautiful thing. That's a wonderful thing. It's the only thing that we could say for sure God never says no to. So first off, emunah. I want to be a person that's in the act of faithing. You know, people that are really in the midst of faithing, that it's a verb for them, they're constantly asking for more and more faith. They're asking God, please enable me to believe in you, to believe in us more, to believe in us. Any couple that ever wants to make it in this world, they got to believe in each other. But if they don't pray to be able to believe in each other more, and they think it's just a given, it'll probably slowly rot out, devastatingly. So that's the faith, and that's the open door to ask for more of it. But it's amazing how if you don't have love attached to that faith, it's very hard to ask for more of it, because why would you want more of something that's not making you feel love? Who was the poet that said, could you be loved? I think his name was Robert Nesta Marley. Right. That's right, Ellie. I see your t-shirt. Could you be loved, right? It's a very deep, deep shaila. Could you be loved means, I mean, we're not here to do a whole Rashi on Rastafarianism, chas v'sholom, but what we are trying to figure out is how to tie these two things together. Ahava and Emunah. It seems that they're ha beha talia, which means that they are dependent on each other. So when I think about the concept of love, I came across a text message that I received from Ahava when she was in Turkey. I don't know which time it was exactly, but it was around the time that we did that evening that was organized in the city of, in Chashmonaim. That Motzei Shabbos we did in Chashmonaim. I think she was in Turkey, or maybe she was on her way to Turkey the next day. I don't remember exactly. But she sent me a long text message, and I actually shortened it because I wanted to share it with you. I hope it's okay. Let's see, is it possible to make it that it can fit better in the, thank you. I'm in Turkey now, after chemo, feeling physically so exhausted and ill. When I think about the love there is for me in this world, it truly gives me strength to go on. And I believed her. When she said these words, this is not to sound politically, spiritually correct. This was literally an emes. We are all just a person. But truly, when wonderful people get together and, like you said, show up, it's possible to do such wonderful things. And when I see what friends and family and many strangers do for me, I don't know why I'm so blessed. And I literally cry tears of gratitude and wonderment. The holiness of your words and the holiness of people's prayers and ratzon, that means their desire, is so true and makes me not only feel, but completely believe that Hashem is walking with me every step of this journey. It's awful and it's wonderful at the same time. That paragraph can be learned over and over and over again, because I believe in that short little paragraph that you had there, you can go to 5,000 Torah shiurim, classes on Torah, to try to connect you to spirituality or to connect you to truth. That paragraph, that little paragraph that we just shared, to me speaks volumes. It's so much of what we need today that it's hard to imagine that we actually had that in our midst on a physical level. But when you look back in that text, you know what, Shimon, can you bring it up again? Because I want to point something out. And anyone that wants me to forward you this is again, David, if you're okay with it, I would love whoever wants to have this, and I have other things like this, but this one really stuck out. She said over here something that I feel is a very clear direction. It's a very clear word, just like a siman, a sign of guidance, as when she said that, first of all, we're all just a person. And in this time of the 3 weeks, what we're supposed to be focusing right now, which we know is Ahavat Chinam, on 2 days ago was the Yortzeit of the Ari, the Kabbalist, the Arizal in Sfat, on the 5th of Av. And the Arizal said that the secret that we must tune into in this time of the 3 weeks is that all of us, it's called Sod Guf Echad. That's what the Ari said. We are all, it's about the secret of being part of one body. I don't know if Ahava Emunah was well-versed in the teachings of the Arizal. I don't know, maybe she was, maybe she wasn't, but she was immersed in her own world of connection to God. And when you're connected like that, we are all just a person. But truly, when wonderful people get together and show up, it's possible to do such wonderful things. And then she says, when I see what friends and family, many strangers do for me, what she's able to do in the midst of such agony and pain is that she was brave enough to love and to feel loved when that's the last thing in the world that you want to feel. That's greatness, friends. That's the word that I keep on coming back to right now. Because to really love, you have to really, really be vulnerable. To let yourself feel loved, you got to be just as vulnerable. So what she was saying over here is that when she allowed those things to touch her heart, when she allowed people to express their love to her on whatever level they did, what it made her feel was that Hashem was holding her hand. What it brought her to was emunah. That love that we, Baruch Hashem, we were privileged on whatever level we were able to shower her with. That it's not so much that we were such a gewalt, but it's that she enabled that love to play a role in a life that really, really was in such pain. So if that's true for her, in our own level, wherever that is, to soften our hearts a little bit and allow someone to love us a little bit more, you have no idea how fast that'll bring you to a world of faith. And that's what we're busy doing on the 3 weeks. It's definitely what we're busy doing on the 9 days. If we want to understand a little bit what happened, that so many years ago, twice, the place where love was supposed to be displayed in all of its glory, which is the Holy Temple, the Beit HaMikdash. A lot of people have a lot of different opinions about what it looked like and what it was all about, but it's pretty clear that that place, that physical structure, served as a place for God to let us know how much he really loves us, and for us to let God know how much we love him as well. That's what we mourn, is that that place doesn't exist anymore. And we're trying so hard to figure out ways how to do it. Well, it starts with living these lines that Ahava Emunah shared with me, and many of the other writings as well, but definitely that message. That's where it starts from. This ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha it starts from letting someone love you. So Ahava Emunah, we're going to end with this. She shares a yortzeit with a very big tzaddik. And I don't think it's stam, but it's a tzaddik that has a book that has become very popular in the last few years. He passed away approximately about 23 years ago. And that is someone that's known by the name of his book. It's called the Netivot Shalom, the Slonim Rebbe, the Rebbe from Slonim. Netivot Shalom means the paths of peace. And tonight is his yortzeit as well. So I want to show you something very simple and very beautiful from the teachings of the Netivot Shalom to tie this all in together. במה נתייחדה מצוות ואהבת לרעך כמוך יותר משאר המצוות שהיא כלל גדול בתורה. What's so special about ואהבת לרעך כמוך? Love thy neighbor like you love yourself. Like we know about There's a lot of mitzvahs in the Torah. There are a lot of laws. There are a lot of things we have to follow. But we all know that when it comes to V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, it's like it has its own category of importance. It's kind of like superior, even though no mitzvah should be superior to another, because if they're all from God, they're all equal. But b'chol zot, nonetheless, V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha really is one that kind of stands out on its own. So the Shlomo Rebbe says, Achen mashma'ut advarim, the meaning is, shehi klal gadol lehagia be'emtzauto lekol haTorah kula. Says, you know why V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha is such a big mitzvah? Because it's the gateway. It's the gateway to reach all other levels, all other areas, all other aspects of the Torah, of true, refined, pure moral ethics. He's saying over here that if you want to reach the place that of spiritual growth in many other areas, if V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha is what you're setting your mind to start with, you'll eventually be able to reach everything else. Vehu al pi ma'amar ha'Baal Shem Tov hakadosh ala pasuk, and he's going to explain this based on what the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of the Hasidic movement, says about the following statement. Anochi omed bein Hashem uveinechem. Moshe Rabbeinu said, I am standing between you and God. This is when the Torah was being given. He uses the word Anochi. I am standing between you and God. So the Baal Shem Tov, who always takes the script and he's always darshans out, he learns out deeper meanings from it, says something beautiful. Sheteva ha'adam sheyesh bo enochiyut v'yeshut. The nature of person is that she has an ego. Anochiyut, all about me. V'ha'anochiyut, this ego, this all about me, omedet bein Hashem uveinechem. This is what separates between us and God. Shehi mechitza hamafseket ben Yehudi v'Hashem yitbarach. This is the mechitza. Mechitza doesn't just mean that thing that separates between men and women in shuls. You could have a mechitza between yourself and God. What's the mechitza and how high is it? The more you think life is about you, then the more that stands in the way between you and the master of the world. V'nimtza ki aderech lehagia lekol haTorah hi al yedei bitul ha'anochiyut ha'omedet bein Hashem uveinechem. So the way to reach the rest of the Torah is by nullifying, by kind of trying to wipe away this place of it's all about me, which stands between me and God. And he continues and he says, there's all these different levels of working on your ego. But the truth is that the highest place of working on your ego is not, I am nothing, I don't exist. The highest place of rectifying and refining your ego is using your ego to love for no ulterior motive, just for the sake of realizing that the world is bigger than me. And when I'm able to do that, I can reach everywhere else in the Torah as well. So, just to summarize this second piece that we just looked at, and you can go out of the text now, Shem, thank you, is that, it takes so much guts to believe that the things that are hardest in life are actually the most simple. Because V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha is something that in today's day and age, boy, not so simple, especially if you watch Channel 12 or other, it's not a simple thing at all. I know people right now in the States as well, that family members stop talking to each other because of their political opinions. We have to go to this place where we could actually laugh at that kind of a reality. We have to go to the place of allowing love, of allowing emunah, of allowing belief in ourselves to realize life has got to be so much deeper than that. But the way that I could reach that place is if I recognize how much of my life is all about me. One thing I got very strong from my relationship with Ahava Emunah over the years was that when many people go through pain, they can ask the questions, why me? But when the question of why me is coming from a place of anochi, of it's, life is all about me anyway. So when you ask why me, you're not asking it in order to really get an answer. But I have to say, I think Ahava Emunah also asked why me. But I think she asked it from a completely different place. I think she asked it and she got an answer for it while she was alive, physically alive. Because I think that she asked, why me? Meaning, God, how could I make your name greater through such pain? How can I make your work? How is it possible to bring more love and faith into the world through such pain? Why me? When you ask like that, God says, you're going to be the one through which I will reveal myself in ways that I don't usually reveal myself, because you are removing the anochi from the equation. You understand? I hope I'm trying to be clear. It's a very deep concept. I'm just trying to be clear. When people suffer and they say, why me, God? What they're really asking is, why are you doing this to me? They're not saying, why me? But when you're suffering, but the world is bigger than just you, and you're a humble spirit, and you say, why me? You're privileged to hear. You're privileged to be like, what was it, E.T., when you get tapped like that? You're privileged to kind of get tapped and be like, yeah, you're asking the question in the proper way. Why me? Meaning, how can I make your name greater in the world? So, to all the family, to the Langs and to the Grogans, and to the whole extended family, I just want you to know, I know many Rebbes. I know many like saintly people, like big tzaddikim, like hardcore. And you don't need me to say this, but how great are people? It's based on how much they let God in. How great are people? It's usually measured based on how much godliness did they bring to the world. The godliness that was brought and is continued to being brought into this world, into this very confusing, funny world, through the neshama that we're commemorating and living with every day, but specifically tonight, it hasn't even begun. The revelation of Hashem through her light and her Torah has not even begun. But when we see how her husband and children and parents and siblings and nephews and nieces are carrying that torch of love and faith with such dignity and with such beauty, I am excited for the world. I actually am not depressed. I actually feel that the wave of love and the wave of faith, which will continue to permeate the whole world in the zchut of this neshama, who asked in the midst of her pain, how can I make your name great, God? That love and faith is the only thing that's left for us to just figure out how to implement in our lives before we will be reunited with her with the coming of Mashiach, Tzidkenu, speedily in our days. B'mehera b'yameinu, amen v'amen. I love you all. I'm so honored for this opportunity, and may we be privileged to live up to even just a tiny fraction of the message of love and faith which we receive from her, and may it just widen our hearts and open our hearts to love more and allow ourselves to be loved just a tiny bit more, just a little bit more. Doesn't have to be the whole thing. It's a big shoes, but just a tiny bit more. And to always realize that we got the best cheerleader in the world that's rooting us on whenever we choose to open our hearts. Teheh nishmata tzrura b'tzror ha'chaim. Amen ve'amen.
הריני מקבל עליי מצוות עשה של ואהבת לרעך כמוך כמוך הריני מקבל עליי מצוות עשה של ואהבת לרעך כמוך כמוך חברים כל ישראל חברים כל ישראל חברים כל ישראל הריני מקבל עליי חברים כל ישראל חברים כל ישראל חברים כל ישראל הריני מקבל עליי
and